Okay, we're all set.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 6:08. Let's do a roll call.
Trustee Amenta?
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Carpenter?
Here.
Trustee Maher?
Yeah.
Trustee McKay?
Ann. She said yes.
Okay, and President Rozak?
Yes.
And Bockhurst is present as well.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, Bockhorst.
Carpenter.
She got it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
everyone
you.
who's here, raise your hand. Now that you're exploding, Ann. So, hi, welcome to our
thank
crazy
you.
place. I'm President Rozak, and we'll go around the table and introduce ourselves. And then we have, in 1 second, we have 4 questions for you. Each one of us will just rotate on questions tonight. And at the end, if there is any clarifications, a trustee may have something to ask you. And if you have any questions for us, then we take those at that time.
Perfect.
So I'm President Rozak.
David Amenta. Jessica Carpenter.
Tammy Bockhurst.
Hi.
And this is Ann McKay.
That's her.
Hi.
She's a little funny tonight. So, Trustee Menta, would you like to take the first question?
What about Shorewood attracts people to live, work, or play? How can the village board ensure these community attributes are maintained and enhanced?
Well, first off, I apologize. This started on me, believe it or not. These are my notes for the interview, so I decided I tried to really outline what I thought and kind of put them into buckets, really. And the buckets for me, I was trying to put it in a logical order. And I think I'd start with history and development of Shorewood. And they're kind of, in a way they're opposing forces, but in a way they're not. We've seen so much development in Shorewood over the years. We've seen, I have a perspective going back about 35 years in Shorewood. We've seen all this development go up around Oakland Avenue. I live right off the business district. I live at the corner of Olive and Murray. And I love I love the amenities. But I also see some of the downsides of the amenities. I mean, my bedroom window is right on the street, so I hear more noise. My yard is constantly filled with Starbucks cups, which is unpleasant. And you see that balance there. I will say my wife came from San Francisco. She spent 8 years in San Francisco, grew up north of the city, and she loves being in Shorewood. She loves the mix that we have. And the flip side of the mix, and I touched on this a little bit in my write-up, is the history of this place. I absolutely love Shorewood's history. I love the fact that I live in a house that's 110 years old. I don't love it right now because my porch needs to be raised about a foot, but I love it in general. It's a great community to live in. But that gives us our own challenges. That gives us infrastructure challenges, old infrastructure, old school buildings, all the things that you need to figure out how to balance and prioritize as you move forward and as you plan the future of Shorewood. The second thing about Shorewood that I'd really be remiss if I didn't mention that draws people here, the service and amenities. I am not unbiased. I'm a Shorewood High School graduate. I went to Atwater Elementary School, Shorewood Intermediate School. I love the Shorewood schools. I think they're fantastic. I think they're absolutely second to none. That in combination with things like fire and police. I had an unfortunate situation a few years back where somebody tried to barge into my house while I was still there. The police were there within 2 minutes and resolved the issue. I love the services and the services that Shorewood provides, the amenities that Shorewood provides. And I think the last thing that makes Shorewood a really special place is the people. I've seen Shorewood grow from a place that wasn't particularly diverse to a place that's much more diverse now, to a place where I really, really want to be from that longitudinal point of view. And the journey's not done, it's not complete, but it's really a great place to live. And I would also put in the fact that, sometimes Shorewood can be a little divisive in its discourse, but I like to view the positive side of that, which is people are passionate. People care. That's in a way we're all on the same team. We all want to make sure we're a great place to work and live. And the question is, how do we get there? How do we prioritize, strategize around our goals to get there? And I think the second part of that question, how does the board drive that? How does the board make sure that happens? And we maintain Shorewood as the great place it is to live. I think that's all about. I've learned a little bit about this from my work in Northwestern Mutual. We've developed quick. We have that huge tower now. We've developed very quickly as a company. And one of the things that we've really, really focused on as we develop quickly is prioritizing and strategizing. What are our priorities? What do we drive first, second, third? Because God knows there are a lot of ideas. There's a lot of energy going on at Northwestern Mutual, and we really need to do that. And I've had the privilege of being involved in some of those conversations, and it's really fun to do. So I think that's how the board helps to keep Shorewood where it is and improve Shorewood, which is aligning with the strategy, the priority, and figuring out exactly how it wants to move forward in terms of balancing its history and its development. Sorry, that was a little long-winded.
No, it was excellent. Thank you. Trustee Carpenter.
What skills have you acquired or life experiences have you had which makes you well matched to the duties and responsibilities of a village trustee?
I could talk for too long. Well, first off, the obvious answer is that I'm an attorney, but I'm not gonna exaggerate. I don't have any expertise on civic law or anything like that. I started out as a litigator. Then I became an information protection attorney. Now I'm a client services attorney with responsibility from the underwriting process to our claims process. But I think being an attorney gives me some advantages. What we're trained to do is somebody at Michael Besson Friedrich when I worked there called it the bathtub principle. So we're trained to fill up the bathtub, figure out what a problem is, and help to solve the problem. When I see a problem, I need to understand it and understand it quickly. So I think that skill set, which they start teaching you in law school, and you really learn once you start practicing, and I've been practicing about 15 years now, would really help in terms of kind of learning problems quickly and helping to solution those problems quickly as well. The second thing that I want to talk about is my experience in Northwestern Mutual. Now, Northwestern Mutual was a consensus building company. We're over 5,000 in the Milwaukee area. My client base kind of spans the enterprise. And it's really funny. It's really a great place to work. I had a client who just retired 3 years ago. She's been with the company for 52 years, which is amazing. And there are people there, 30, 40 years is not uncommon. On the flip side, we just bought a company in New York, LearnVest. And LearnVest, I'm working with people who are clients who are 10 plus years younger than me. So it's really amazing to work with all these different client areas and try to build consensus amongst people with totally different views of the world. I'll give you an example. Today, and I've tried to keep up my energy through drinking coffee and all that, but I've been in an event since 8 in the morning focused on eliminate. This is the exciting part of my day. Trust me. I've been in an event focused on elimination of insurance forms in order to make our client experience better across insurance and annuity products, and that brought together people from the client area, insurance and annuities, compliance, law, a whole host of different departments within the enterprise. And that was something where we worked through, we prepared, we built consensus, and we feel like we have a really good, positive way forward to impact the company in a really positive way going forward. And the last thing I would say, is more personal for me. I'm African American, obviously, half African American, half Italian. When I was 5 or 6 years old, I was bused into Shorewood. I was part of the Chapter 220 program focused on desegregation. I viewed Shorewood as an outsider for the first, 15 years is too much, 10 years of my life. I saw Shorewood change and develop and grow more diverse. I remember challenges getting to school, and Shorewood used to not like to cancel schools. I remember the challenges of having to take either the yellow bus or 2 city buses to get to school when it was snowing and school was still on. And I remember, kind of going through that and looking at Shorewood as a little bit of an outsider. And trust me, I'm of the mindset you should have school if you can. But I've always viewed Shorewood as a place that I wanted to be. It was one of the happiest days of my life when my mom bought a house here when I was a junior in high school. And then as soon as I could get back here after I graduated law school, lived a couple years downtown, but as soon as I could buy a house, I knew I didn't want to live any place but here. But I think I offer a different viewpoint as a person of color, first of all, who's seen Shorewood grow from more diverse. We used to joke about there being only very, very few families of color in the Shorewood area, and also a person who's been kind of an outsider looking in at Shorewood, really, really, really wanting to be here, and then becoming that insider who lives here, who owns a house here. I think it's kind of a different perspective than you usually see.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter.
What is the overriding reason that you want to serve in the position of trustee, and how can you contribute to this service?
Well, I think first of all, as I thought about this, and I think it's best to kind of address it. Obviously I didn't run for trustee. Sorry, I shouldn't have drinking water. I wasn't in the election. I've thought about it for a couple of years. It's one of those things where when I start to gear up the election in November, December, January, February, I referenced that I had been an information protection attorney, and I switched over. We had a retirement in our group, and we kind of reshuffled the group, and I took on some client services duties, which I hadn't done before. So, in those few months, I wanted to make absolutely sure that I knew how that would settle out, and I knew that, I could, before taking on something else, I wanted to make sure that I could do my job, and I could do my job in an exceptional way. And over the past 4 or 5 months, that has settled out, and, for me, this is the opportunity to get involved. Secondly, why I want to be a trustee, I think my skills align with something the board is looking for. I'm a consensus builder. I'm a problem solver. That's what I do in my day-to-day job. And frankly, the meetings I've sat in with this board seems to build consensus very, very well. But I don't think that you ever can have enough of that. Can have enough of that drive to be a consensus builder. And the other part is I think I offer a unique vantage point on Shorewood. I very much value my experience living. And before living in Shorewood, visiting Shorewood, and spending the night at my friend's house in Shorewood, and feeling privileged. Hey, I get to stay in Shorewood this weekend. That's really cool. Even though I grew up on Green Bay and Silver Spring over in Milwaukee. So I think it's just a unique kind of inside-out perspective, in addition to being a person of color that I could offer to the board. And finally, just maybe most basically, I love this community. I wanted to be a part of this community since I was 6. I would love to serve this community, and I have a passion about being in this community. There's no place else I want to live. My wife and I already had a house here when I started dating my wife. Literally, in our second date, I said, "I'm not going anywhere. This is where I am staying," because there was always that time. Some of her family would like her to move back to San Francisco, and we were very much in alignment. This is where we love to be. This is where we want to be. So the bottom line, and maybe the most overriding reason, is that I love this village, and I'd like to serve.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
If you would take Shorewood over San Francisco, you must really look.
Trust me, we spent 3 days in San Francisco, and my bank account thanks me for coming down.
Yeah, right. Well, where would you live?
Yeah.
Trustee Buckland.
Yeah, and do you have any questions of us regarding this position?
Well, I just think, I was thinking about the questions on my way over, and I sense this board has kind of a new perspective. How do you guys view that perspective, and how does your team kind of view the development of the board from where it was to where it's going? Maybe that's a really open-ended question.
Do you want an answer for the board? Or do you want to take turns?
I would think we could all.
Okay. So for me, I think that we have a really good balance on the board right now. We've got very intelligent individuals, some with lots of experience, some with a little bit of experience being on the board. But I do feel like we all have the same goal in mind, and we're all working together towards those goals. And I think the visioning process that our wonderful village manager, who has set us on the right course, has laid out for us coming up in June, while we're interviewing now for a new trustee, is going to really help just gel us. We'll be more on the same page of where we're headed in the future, so like the long-term goal. And so I think that things are going really well.
And kind of a follow-up to that, I kind of asked this around a little bit, but how do you drive kind of constituent engagement in kind of the new initiative and the plans and the strategies and priorities?
So again, I have to credit our village manager over here, but each of the committees, so we have a lot of resident committees, so we just did our appointment cycle, and it was a lot. But the reason we have so many at this moment is because that's how residents stay involved, and they feel connected to their community. And so, I forgot what the last part of the question was, but.
It was basically, I think you had to
Yes,
start
yeah.
driving constituent
and so
engagement.
for the visioning process, they all get to participate. So each committee is gonna give us their vision and priorities, and then we're gonna consider them as a board along with our own. So it's really tying them together, which was great.
Okay. And kind of tied to that, I think maybe you already answered this, but what are the opportunities for improvement in the board? Where do you think that you're looking for?
We're trying to get more efficient, so making the meetings more business-oriented. We're switching up some structure to make us function better, as a board, and make the residents be able to feel welcome, coming in and talking. So I would just say getting more efficient, and having more time to focus on some of the bigger items, because that's really, in the last 2 years that I've been on, it's hard, because you have so much in front of you.
And it's also a volunteer position, basically. I mean, we don't have staff. We get paid $1,000 a year, and we can work as many hours as we want. You understand that? So, and I'd say in the beginning, it's about 20 hours, good 20 hours a week, especially, on board. I mean,
Just good to tell
20
you.
hours a week.
more or less. I mean,
I guess
there's an aggressive learning curve. There's a lot of meetings. We're coming upon a lot. In the summer, we may have 1 official meeting per month. Usually we have 2, first and third Monday. But we have a slew of special meetings, and it's always the case that we seem to have more meetings in the summer and in the fall. Ramps up too. So budget cycle. So, September, October, just as everything's getting going with the school year, it's going to be very hectic here as well. But I agree with what President Rosick said. Being more efficient, I think also being, and this is not a slam on the past, but we're a much more, I'd say, energetic board now. And with that, I believe there's a lot of opportunity, not only with board relations and community, but beyond. And I'm excited, I think, and also, we have an open position. So for me, something that's very important, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this.
We've got 1 minute.
Yep, is basically, wanting someone who wants to move forward with us and is looking at opportunities. It might not just be Shorewood opportunities too, going beyond, not just like intergovernmental, but just even national. So, anyway.
Thank you.
And just to say that definitely, I've said it in the last few meetings, that definitely comes through. Your whole board looks very hardworking, very engaged, and has a lot of energy. I know, at 9:30, 10 at night, it's incredible. It's fun to watch. So.
Thank you.
Me sitting here and going at 12.
Especially at 12.
Yeah, that's not.
Does anybody have any clarification questions for John? It's John, right?
I just, what we fundamentally do is manage tax dollars that people pay. And I'm just curious, in your position, I know, how much number work have you done, or are you comfortable with budgets and numbers and that kind of thing?
It's funny, before 6 months ago, and I'll make this quick because I know you're on a tight time frame. Before 6 months ago, I would have said not a ton. Lawyers sometimes live in a little bit of an ivory tower. Now that I'm more in the client services space, and we talk about trying to save money through initiatives that we run, and how the company is expending money for this and that and the other thing. I do see a lot more of that now, and I'm much more sensitive to how dollars are spent and what my recommendations as a lawyer mean in terms of bottom line dollars. So although I'm not per se managing budgets, my sensitivity towards budgets and dealing with them has certainly gone up significantly within the last 6 months.
Thank you. Well, we're hopeful that we will have a selection tonight, so we don't have to go to another meeting. And Rebecca, how are you following up?
The clerk will
Or
be
you-
following up by email
stay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Or you could,
Or
or you can
stay.
stay, because it's an open meeting, so
Oh, okay.
even consideration. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day. We might see you later. We never know.
Thank you. Very, very nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
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 Hey, Ann, you might want to put that on mute and then go off of mute when you do a question. Does that work?
Oh, are you hearing the background?
Yeah. And I want to put
Can
you
you hear
close.
okay?
Yeah, I'm going to put you closer to the candidates. But if you put yourself on mute, it'll be easier for them to hear.
Okay, were you hearing the GPS?
Oh,
Just
it's
background, yeah.
Wind noise,
Yeah.
kinda.
Your car
Road
noise.
Okay. I'll ask Dave if she knows how to put it on mute tonight.
It's just a little microphone button.
She'll figure it out. My secretary.
Secretary. Okay.
No doubt it's
We're
gonna
on
hang
this
up,
country road.
right? Because
I
usually
feel
when
like
I
we're
try to
never
pull
gonna
something,
get
the phone hangs up.
Oh.
Can you hear, Ann?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So then will she ask the first question and we'll go like this so we're not all.
Sure.
She doesn't have the paper.
Oh, Ann? No, Ann's not
Is the
asking a question.
background
She said.
better?
Yeah.
She said she
Is
wasn't.
that quieter? Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't, yeah, I know.
seat right at the head of the table.
Okay, I haven't been in this
1,
room
2, 3.
quite a bit. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I recognize you from somewhere and I don't know how.
I got you elected.
That was that's the case. So Stephanie,
Yes,
welcome.
we did throw you a joint election fundraiser party. Joan Gorman and myself, and I'm the one
okay.
who started the yoga classes.
Years ago, oh yes, I understand now. Oh, thank you.
Oh, you have? Have you enjoyed it?
Yes, it's the yoga class, sorry. But it's the yoga where I actually remember it. Okay.
Okay. But we did do a fundraiser for you.
Yes, I remember that now.
All right.
So I'm President Rozak, and our trustees are here. Trustee McKeag is on the phone.
Oh, hello.
We'll go around.
We're not neglecting you.
And introduce everybody, and then we just have 4 simple questions to
Okay.
ask. And then at the end, if there's anything you want to ask of us, feel free to do so. And also, if there's any clarification that maybe we didn't hear something, we want clarification, we can ask that at the end as well.
Of course.
So I'm Allison.
And David Amenta.
Hi.
Hi.
Justin Carpenter.
Hello.
Mike Mar.
Hi.
Tammy Backhorn,
Yeah.
been in your yoga classes.
Well, the yoga class I started.
Right, in your
Right.
backyard. and
In
then
my
over at the
backyard,
Legion
yeah,
Hall.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Trustee Carpenter, would you like to start with your first question?
What about Shorewood attracts people to live, work, or play? How can the village board ensure these community attributes are maintained and enhanced?
Okay, that's like a compound question. I think that most people are attracted to Shorewood because of the school system. I think that's the primary reason. Although I've never had children in the school system, don't have children in the school system, so the attraction for me was a little different, and that was that it was kind of a safer community to live in. I felt comfortable walking around at night. And so those are the important things, is the safety factor for those who maybe don't have children. Did I answer that? I mean, it was really a compound
Yeah.
question. Is there more there?
There's a second part. So
Okay.
just how can the village board ensure these community attributes are maintained and
Maintained.
enhanced?
Well, obviously, you have to keep on top of the school system and make sure that they have sufficient funds to provide this, fabulous education that Shorewood has always provided, including when I was a kid at Lake Bluff. And obviously, we have to continue to have safety things, whether it's not